Welcome to the yoga method. Come and join me on your mat for your Vinyasa practice as soon as you're ready. So if you're facing your mat lengthwise, you'll come to the left end of your mat. And if you are facing with your mat narrow end to me, you will step towards the top of your mat. So beginning with your big toes touching, just a slight gap between your feet. And today's practice is suitable for all levels, as there is always lots of modifications and options provided. We want our yoga practice to be inclusive. Yoga is for everyone. We just have to make it accessible for everyone. So we begin by closing down our eyes, dropping into the awareness of our bodies, of our breath, of our yoga mat. And we set an intention only if we wish. But this action of deliberately pausing and setting an intention is such a beautiful and unique feature to our yoga practice. It allows us to dedicate our efforts and our energy to someone or something beyond ourselves. So our yoga practice becomes an act of gratitude, devotion, and service. Taking one more breath as you are. And then please gently release your hands, opening your eyes, and circle and sweep your hands high as you take a breath in. On your exhalation, as we forward fold, we bend the knees as much as we need, so the hands can rest on our thighs, our shins, our ankles, because sometimes the floor is just too far away. So let's pause here, take your feet hip distance apart if they're not already there. And just take a moment to bend the knees really deeply as you lift your chin on the in-breath. And on your exhalation, just gently moving into a forward fold. So on the in-breath, we lift the knees, bend the knees, and lift the heart. And on the exhalation, gently tucking the chin and bowing in. So finding a little bit of mobility through the ankle, the knee, the hip joint, and the spine. Just warming the body for our practice to come. One more full breath in, bend the knees, lift the chin, the chest. And on your exhalation, easing your way in. Please capture the opposing wrist or elbow. And if it feels appropriate for you, you'll invite some gentle movement. The movement can come from the base of your pelvis. And you are just noticing, you're just observing, not judging, just how the hamstrings, the hips, and your lumbar spine is feeling today. Take one more breath with movement. And then please find stillness. And when the time is right for you, release your hands to the floor, to your shins, to your knees. Please press your hands into your shins as you lift through your head, your heart, your tailbone. And on the out breath, forward fold again, and let's release our knee way back. Pausing here just to lift ourselves up, checking that our hip and our knee is in one line, and our knee is right above our ankle. Palms forward. And as we take a breath in, I'd love for you just to open towards me. And as the breath comes out of the body, closing down palm to palm. So breathe in, just draw that arm across your chest, reach and revolve. On the exhalation, gently return, resetting core and shoulders. One more time as we breathe in, and let's just pause and hold here. So feel the upward lift of your pelvic floor, the gentle drawing in of your navel towards your spine. And if you can, engaging your right glute to bring more stability to your pelvis. One more full breath in. And on the out breath, gently releasing that twist. And we'll take the twist to the other side. So right hand to your left knee, left hand to the curve of the lower back. And variation 1, we keep the shoulders square. Variation 2, creating a little bit of rotation, maybe even looking over your left shoulder. And option 3, descending into your hips as far as the body will allow. Now, we never want to dump into the hips. We want to keep core connected, using the abdominals and using our right glute to bring stability to our spine and pelvis. Take one more full breath in and out. And on your inhalation, return your eye gaze, please. Frame your foot, lift your back knee for a moment, and let's slide to high plank before we land our knees and take our first yogi push-up with elbows tight, eyes forward, belly strong. We lay low, we deliberately loop the shoulders and squeeze the elbows back. So in baby cobra, there's lightness in the hands, but I'm still using the hands for support. But we want to really energize the back of the body. So between the shoulder blades, the glutes, the legs. So bringing this beautiful awareness into the back of the body, building strength and endurance into our posterior chain, our postural muscles. Take one more breath here. And on your next inhalation, just press yourself up and back to child's pose, please. So knees wide, big toes together, releasing your head. Maybe you need to bend your elbows more. So if downward dog is not feeling available, accessible for you today, this is where I'd love you to come and rest anytime you need. Take one more breath here. Before you ripple your way forward onto your hands and knees. You will step your right foot between your hands, and once you've arrived there safely, stacking shoulders over hips, checking we've got beautiful alignment between the hip and the knee. And then when you feel ready, pelvic floor lifted, core is on. We're taking a breath in to peel open, to look, to revolve. And on the exhalation, closing back to the front, please. Full breath in as you stretch and expand and revolve. Exhaling to close back to the midline, please. One more time, and we're going to pause and hold here. So dynamically reaching from fingertip to fingertip, feeling the lift of pelvic floor, Mula Bandha, a gentle drawing in and up of the abdominals, Uddiyana Bandha. And then also, if we can, engaging through our left glutes to stabilize the pelvis. Take one more breath in that reaches your fingertips. And on the out breath, closing back to the front before taking a gentle twist, perhaps to the other side. So variation 1, the shoulders will stay square. Variation 2, if twisting feels available, you'll take it. And variation 3, we keep the connection in the stabilizers as we descend through the pelvis, checking that our knee is tracking with our second and our third toe. Core, glutes, working with breath. One more full, deep, smooth breath in and out. On your in-breath, return your eyes. On your exhalation, release your twist. And let's lift that back knee again. So slide to your high plank on your knees or your toes, lowering through chaturanga. And if chaturanga isn't working for you because of a wrist or shoulder issue, you'll just stay in high plank instead. So baby cobra or upward facing dog. And we're moving to downward facing dog, but reminding you that child's pose is on offer. First down dog. Let's bring some beautiful movement to the body. Pedaling through your heels, rolling through your shoulders. Just feeling how the body is feeling. I want you to check that your hands are shoulder distant and your feet are hip distance. And then you're feeling length through your arms, your spine, and your legs. Knees as bent as your spine requires. So if you're feeling any strain through your back, it's your knees that you want to bend. So taking one more breath as we find stillness together. And on your next inhalation, please lift to the tips of your toes. On the out breath, bend your knee, look at the end of your mat. And then stepping or hopping will lift and lengthen as the breath comes in. Exhaling to gently forward fold. Press into the earth, reach and rise all the way to your extended mountain pose before circling your hands down and around to Samastitihi. So let's come to Utkatasana. This is chair pose, but let's take a moment to set this up. So I want you to keep bending your knees until your fingertips find the floor. And that should ensure that your pelvis is lower than your shoulders. So quite often in chair pose, the bum stays up, but I want you to really focus on bending your knees. So we're finding ankle mobility, knee mobility, hip mobility, and now shoulder mobility as we either reach the hands forward or if your shoulders will allow, you're welcome to reach a little bit higher. Feel the action of the legs, the feet, the core. Take one more full breath in, and on your exhalation, easing your way into your forward fold. As we breathe in, either hands to shins or fingertips to floor, flat back, extension. And now stepping or hopping, lowering through your chaturanga on knees or toes, or staying in high plank if you have any wrist or shoulder issues. We can transition to up dog or baby cobra from a plank, no problem. And we're either moving to child's pose or downward facing dog. If you're in child's pose, stay there for a little bit longer. And we are going to lift our right leg if we're in down dog. I'm inviting you to open your pelvis, but keep your shoulders square. It does not matter how high we lift this leg. It's the integrity of our shoulders and our core that we're working with. Staying and breathing as we gaze at our left big toe for one more deep breath in and out. On your in-breath, lift to the tips of your toes, look forward. We're going to try and step between our hands, but often we get kind of stuck about there. So if you do, don't worry. Just give yourself a helping hand. You'll ground your knee, and we'll bring the hands back to where we started this sequence. Now, variation 1, we're going to stay grounded through the back knee. Variation 2, you're hovering now. Exact same movement pattern, whether you're grounded or not. On the in-breath, we open, we revolve. And on the exhalation, closing back in, reset. So draw the arm back, draw your bow back, open, stretch across the heart. Exhaling to close. You can land the knee anytime you need. As we do this third one, we're staying. We are staying. We're focusing on the length of the spine, the strength of our core, the depth of our breath. As we take one more full deep breath in and out. On your in-breath, return the hands before taking that twist the other way. So if you're grounded, you will stay here, or you will take a little twist. Variation 3, if you're elevated, I want you to lean forward, lengthen your back leg, and place your left forearm on your thigh. Please check your knee is right above your ankle, and you're turning to the extent that it feels safe for your body. How long can you make your back leg if it's elevated? How much can you lift your navel towards your spine? And can you take 2 more breaths, please? One more full deep breath in. And on the exhalation, return your eye gaze if you're not already there. We're all going to rise with that back knee either grounded or still elevated. And I'd like for you just to peel your heart open. So option 1, we're on the earth. Variation 2, we're elevated. Variation 3, you'll make your back leg longer and then create as much of a back bend as it feels glorious for your body. Eye gaze can lift if your balance will allow. Staying and breathing for 2 more breaths. One more full breath in before we all release our hands. Slide to high plank, taking your chaturanga or not, knees or toes, a baby cobra, or an upward facing dog. Before we lift our hips up and back to down dog or child's pose, please. So if you're in down dog, it's your left leg that's rising. Pelvis is open, but it does not matter how high it lifts. Stamp your left hand down a little bit more than you think you need to. Gazing at your right big toe. Taking 2 more breaths. If you're in child's pose, come and join us in down dog. And now we'll all step between our hands. So if you lift to the tips of your toes, bring your knee to your chest. It's a little bit easier to get through, but again, help yourself if you need. Option 1, we're grounded. Variation 2, we're elevated, but we're all taking the same hand position. As we breathe in, we're going to peel open. Maybe the balance will allow us to look over our shoulders, and on the exhalation, closing. Full breath in, draw your bows back, stretch from fingertip to fingertip before gently, slowly closing in. One more time as you open. I'd love for you to stay elevated or grounded, breathing for 2 more breaths. One more full breath in, and on the exhalation, return. Taking a rest if you need by grounding into your foot or staying elevated. So variation 1, we're here. Variation 2, we're elevated and turning. And then we're lengthening through that back leg as we land the right forearm. Is your knee right above your ankle? And is your core supporting your spine? As you charge your back leg, you'll feel your right glute activate. Eye gaze wherever it feels best for you. Taking 2 more breaths. One more breath, please, before we all return our eyes, release our twist, and ground momentarily. So I'm going to ask you to open your wings. Option 1, you're on the earth. Variation 2, you're hovering with your 90-90 knees. And variation 3, you'll wiggle your back leg a little longer and sink maybe a little deeper. The amount that you open, the amount that you back bend, entirely up to you. And that final option of lifting your eyes, if the balance will allow. Ooh, shaky legs. Last 2 breaths. One more goodbye breath in before gently releasing your hands. Slide to your high plank, and please pause with your left knee on the earth. Turn to me, roll to side plank, stacking shoulder and wrist. Variation 1, we'll stay on the knee. Variation 2, I'd love for you to come to your split stance, please. Variation 3, peace fingers to your big toe, bent knee or a leg coming out in front, or playing with lifting that leg any amount that feels sort of safe, challenging but in control. For one more full deep, deep, deep breath in before gently releasing. Listen, travel through a chaturanga or stay in high plank, and then easing your way up and open to cobra or upward facing dog before gently lifting yourselves up and back, downward facing dog. Your left leg is rising again. And this time I'd love for you to bend your knee. Now, if you're in child's pose, just stay right there. Stay and breathe. Press into your left hand. Push that foot towards me, any amount that your body will allow. Please take one more full breath in. And when you're ready, all I'd like for you to do is step that foot halfway between your hands. So if you're in child's pose, come and join us in this shape. So our hands are in front. Our left foot is about halfway. Now, option 1, things are about to get messy. We embrace the mess in our yoga practice, just like our life. So variation 1, you're going to lift that back leg and then land. That's all I want you to do. A little tiny lift and then a land. We'll do 2 more together. A little tiny lift and a land. So variation 1, you're going to continue to do this. Variation 2, if working towards handstands is something that you think sounds appealing, you're doing the same thing, but you're creating a little bit of a lift and a land. So we're all taking the exact same shape. We're just deciding where our edge is today. So we shift forward, we kick, we find a moment of airtime. So shift shoulders over wrist, then the kick and the lift. How does 2 more sound? Shift, kick, lift. 1 more time. Beautifully done. And then I'd like for you all to turn to face me at the long edge of your mat. Take a breath in, celebrating whatever you chose before taking a moment in a wide leg forward fold. So listen, option 1, your hands stay on the floor and your knees are super bent. This is a wide leg forward fold. Variation 2, you'll lift your hips a little bit more and you'll begin to bow your head. And then variation 3, maybe you're holding your calves, your Achilles, your heels. So we're all making a similar shape. I guarantee that it feels the same in each of our bodies. We're all experiencing this beautiful sensation that stretching our muscular system and our nervous system provides. Let's take 2 more breaths. 1 more full, deep, delightful breath in and out. On your in-breath, press into the earth. We're pivoting towards the right end of your mat. And I know you're hoping I'm going to forget your side plank, but I didn't. So it's your right knee that comes down and we spin to the right shin and we're on the right hand. So shoulder, elbow, wrist stacking. If you have any wrist issues, you could do the same posture just on your forearm. Variation 2, we are taking that split stance. And variation 3, peace fingers to your big toe, keeping the knee bent. You can lengthen the leg forward, or you can begin to play with lifting that leg skywards any amount that feels kind of sort of good. Stay and breathe for 2, wherever you are. Stay and breathe for 1. We're taking ourselves back into our high plank, traveling through a chaturanga, a celebratory breath in together before we lift ourselves up and back. So it is your right leg that's going to lift any amount, or you're resting in child's pose. We're bending through the right knee, pressing it towards the left shoulder. And the moment we do that, the shoulders twist. So we bring more emphasis into our right hand. We bring more deliberate energy into our core. And now really feel your right glute opening and lifting that leg for 2 more breaths. 1 more, please. So beautiful crew, if you're in child's pose, come and join us, stepping your right foot just halfway towards your hands. Once you've arrived there, just re-navigate your way. So your hands are on the earth, your fingers are spread. And variation 1, it's like a mini warrior 3. We're going to lift on the in-breath and lower on the out-breath. So a tiny little lift and a tiny little lower, and nothing more is required. Variation 2, you need to shift your shoulders over your wrists before you kick and lift. So it's really critical, that shift of stacking shoulders over wrists before we play with just that tiny little lift that begins our journey towards handstanding. So your eyes are beyond your fingertips, you're shifting, you're kicking. So the less movement between our wrists and our shoulders, the better. How strong can you keep your belly? How strongly can you push into the floor? Taking 2 more of these little movements. 1 more time. Just make sure you feel safe before we all gently land. Knees wide, big toes together. Taking a reprieve in child's pose, please. Whew, well done. So the journey into handstanding, is meant to be fun, but it is not necessary. Same as headstanding, right? It's part of the yoga tradition, but it is not necessary. We do not become enlightened instantly when we can stand on our hands or our heads. It's about how mindful we are, how present we are with our bodies, with our breath. Just take 2 more breaths here. One more, please. And when you're ready, I'd like for you to ripple your way up and just take a seat facing me, please. Ooh, so much fun. I'd love for you to bring both legs super wide. So when we work on those kind of positions, quite often the quadriceps in particular and the hip flexors start talking rather loudly. So we're going to take a moment here to really release the inner thigh and the hip flexors. So variation 1, a wide leg forward fold. We bend our knees and our hands are behind us and we're focusing on the length of the spine, maintaining beautiful posture. Variation 2, you could take a hold of your ankles, but not if that means you suddenly found yourself sitting a little bit more like this. So if you can maintain the lift and the length of your spine, perfect. Please stay here. And then over time, as the hamstrings and the adductors, the inner thighs, begin to free up, we'll begin to bring more length. And then easing yourself in as far as this feels good to your body. I'd love for your toes to be towards the ceiling, drawing back into dorsiflexion. And as you transition forward through your torso, could you roll the thighs backwards? So you're thinking external rotation through your femurs, through your thighs, as the heart is translating forward. We could energize our quadriceps if the legs are long. And by doing that, it helps to really support us, muscularly speaking. But contracting the quadriceps also helps to relax our hamstrings and our adductors. So when one muscle is contracted, the opposing muscle releases a little bit more. One more breath, please. And when you're ready, please ease yourself up and out. So I did say hip flexors and quads, and that was not either of those. So we're going to target them by bringing our right foot behind us. Now, sometimes this just isn't accessible. So if you're feeling a pinch there, what I want you to do is actually lean back so that you give yourself a little bit more space to really allow the hip flexor and the quadricep to lengthen and relax. So this is where I want you to stay. Variation 2, we're coming up a little bit more evenly onto the pelvis, but we are going to begin to turn our shoulders towards our left foot. So variation 1, we're hanging out here. Variation 2, we're moving towards our left foot. And as we ease forward, we're definitely going to feel our left hamstring, but we're also feeling the hip flexors and that quadricep getting some well-needed TLC. You can rest your hands on your thigh, your shin, or maybe you're holding your foot. And our drishti, our focal point for all of us, is our big toe. To the best of our ability, we're trying to roll our right ribs towards our left inner thigh. We'll take 2 more breaths. So on the in-breath, we're lengthening the spine. And on the exhalation, we're softening through our faces, through our shoulders. Just take 2 more. One more full deep breath, please. And when you are ready, we'll lift our heads, our hearts. If you are in variation 2, I'd like for you to bring both hands to the inside of that foot, and you might be up here, perfect. And then I'd like for you to turn your shoulder towards your foot. So now your hands are resting on your thigh. Variation 1, you are still hanging out back here a little bit, but you're going to come down to your forearm and roll your heart open if you can. If the forearm's too far away, you're on your hand, but now the energy is rolling open rather than towards that foot, okay? And then from there, we can bring the forearm to the floor if it feels like there's room still to work with. And if your right shoulder will allow, you could bring that to your ear, to your head, or you're welcome to reach over top. Sometimes the foot is available, but remember the goal, if there is such a word to use in yoga, is to roll open. So I'm hoping you feel a beautiful stretch through the front of your right hip, the back of your left leg, and now also feeling glorious sensation down the side body on the right. Let's stay and breathe for 2 more breaths. 1 more full deep breath in and out. You ready? Easing your way up and out of the shape. Once you've arrived there safely, you'll tuck this leg in. So option 1, you're going to bring this knee here, and if that leg is just saying no, 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 this foot will come in here instead, and you'll end up in Sukhasana, easy cross leg. So variation 1, Sukhasana. Variation 2, we're coming into still the same shape with the back leg. And variation 3, if half lotus is part of your practice, we aim the heel for our belly button, and then we tuck the toes into the crease of the hip, that inguinal fold. Sit tall for a moment, just see if that feels appropriate. And then if the body will allow, you're taking a gentle twist with your right hand on your left knee. No matter what shape you're in, it's right hand to your left knee, with your left hand supporting you as we gaze over our left shoulder. Please take 3 more breaths. One more full breath in and out. On your in-breath, return your eye gaze. On your exhalation, let's release our twist, and we'll bring the legs out long where we began the sequence. So once you've arrived here safely, just give your legs a little shake. And let's take a moment while we're shaking our legs to give our wrists a little bit of a roll each direction. I feel like I'm dancing. And when you're ready, remember option 1, hands behind us, bent knees. Variation 2, keep your bent knees, lift through your heart space. Variation 3, we begin to lengthen the legs out a little bit at a time. But the moment we feel ourselves becoming a tortoise, a turtle, we love them, but we don't want our posture to look like this. We're going to back off a little bit and reset. And once we feel like there's space to move forward, the feet will want to follow us, but we're not going to let that happen. Please draw your toes back. Please think about rolling your femur bones open and backwards. And then just keep melting yourself as far as the body says, yes, please. So the breath continues to be able to flow smoothly. There's no straining. There's no struggling. Because we know that consistent effort compounds. Day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, leads to amazing changes in the body and the mind. Please take 2 more breaths. 1 more, please. Before we gently lift through our heart space and ease our way out of whatever shape we took, we're going to bend our left knee back, unless, of course, that does not feel okay to our knee. So try it, and I'd like for you to lean into your right hand just to see if that makes this possible for you. If it still doesn't feel okay to that knee joint, please bring this foot here instead. So variation 1, open knee or bent foot in. And then variation 2, rather than leaning back, we're going to begin to square our shoulders towards our right foot. We can bend this knee if that's feeling a little too strong still. And when you're ready, your body, your breath will just have this internal dialogue about how the shape is feeling for you. Now, some of us will feel this more in our right hamstring than anywhere else. If you're like me, I feel everything through that hip. Now, something just fell in my ear. There we go. So when you are ready, you're going to study your big toe. You're going to deliberately roll your left ribs towards your right thigh, whether you're up tall or down low, it makes no difference. And then we are simply going to breathe into what we're feeling, making peace with whatever we're feeling. Taking 3 more breaths. In through the nose. Slowly, smoothly out through the nose. One more full deep breath in and out. When the time is right for you, the in-breath lifts our heads and our hearts. And on the exhalation, we ease our way out, but we're preparing for a side bend. So if you're leaning back, maybe explore coming to your forearm and just rolling your shoulder open. Our hands can rest on our thighs as we turn and open towards the left. And then any amount of space that the body has available, we just take up the slack. So we could bring our forearm underneath, peace fingers to our Achilles tendon. We had the option of bringing our hand behind our head, really sending the elbow and the heart towards the ceiling. And then that final option of reaching our top arm over, maybe finding our foot. But the moment we feel ourselves closing, we know we've gone too far. So can I roll open as I breathe in? Can you roll open as you breathe in? Can we roll open as we breathe in? Just taking 2 more breaths. And when you are ready, we'll ease our way up and out of that shape. Option to bring our right foot in, but remembering if this just isn't feeling okay, or if you were already with your foot tucked, your twist is going to look like this, okay? So it'll be your left leg tucked in with your right leg in front. If you are okay in that more open hip position, we are sliding the foot in, or the opportunity to take half lotus. Now, if you're taking half lotus, I want you to feel that in your hip, never in your knee, okay? If you feel it in the knee joint, I want you to come out of that immediately. So finding the right option for you. And then please, everyone, take your left hand to your right knee, your right hand behind you. We're focusing on the length of the spine as we breathe in together. Gently revolving as we breathe out together. Last 2 breaths. One more full deep breath in and out. On your in-breath, please return your eye gaze. On your exhalation, release whatever type of twist you took. And let's all come and sit and prepare for our boat pose, please. So option 1, if your back is feeling niggly at all, I want you to support your back with your hands and just focus on beautiful posture with your pelvic floor engaged as well as your lower belly. When I say lower belly, the abdominals draw in all together at the same time. But quite often it's this lower portion, particularly in women, where we don't really have a good engagement with the muscle. So I always cue lower belly because this normally fires quite easily for most of us. So please forgive me because it's not anatomically correct to say just lower belly engaged. Anyway, I digress. Variation 1. Chest is proud. Chin is in. Beautiful posture. Variation 2. Once again, things are going to get a little bit messy. We're going to see if we can pistol grip our big toes. And it's this idea of making sure that there's playfulness in our yoga practice. It's a reminder not to take our yoga practice too seriously. So variation 1, we're going to lift through our heart space by holding onto our big toes. Variation 2, you're going to do your best impersonation of Humpty Dumpty as you balance on your sit bones, holding onto your big toes. And then anything goes. So if you feel like there's room, you could float your shins parallel to ceiling. So I want you to really think about the length of the spine and the strength of your abdominals. And then from there, maybe we're lifting and lengthening a little bit more. So your inner thigh flexibility, your hamstring flexibility will dictate how far we move in the shape. It's not about lack of grit or determination or desire. And from there, the only other option perhaps is to lift your chin, which really challenges your balance as well. So pelvic floor is drawing in and up, we're tightening it. The navel is drawing towards the spine to engage the other abdominal muscles, but our shoulders remain relaxed and our breath remains deep as we take one more full breath in before we gently bring the knees back to a bent position and release our feet. Celebrating your efforts as you catch the opposing elbow or wrist, and then take one breath in to really open front body before you completely exaggerate into your back body. Do 2 more of those. So it's almost like a cat-cow, but with our feet grounded and sitting on our sit bones. Full breath in, into a little extension, full breath out, into flexion. Please take 2 more. One more time, please. Inhaling, pause, lift the chin, open the heart, open the throat, and exhale, chin to chest, rolling backwards as far as the body will allow. Please neutralize, which means just sitting tall with your ear over your shoulder and your shoulders over your pelvis. One last core challenge. So again, variation 1, if your back is feeling niggly or you're just feeling a little fatigued, we focus on our posture and we draw the shoulder blades back, slightly down, core in, pelvic floor up. From there, once again, maybe we're holding on to peace fingers. And then we're balancing in our best Humpty Dumpty, okay? We could stay there. From there, I'm going to ask you to bring your knees in as you hold onto your big toes. And leg length does matter on this, so just see how you go. Hello, Ant. I'm hoping he doesn't bite me. Hello, friend. Can I flick you off? Once you're ready, maybe there's a little bit more space for you to lengthen through your hamstrings. And again, this is not about grit, determination, or desire. Your hamstring flexibility will absolutely impact how far you take your leg position. So if it's feeling good and you feel like there's still some room to work with, you begin to draw your legs a little bit closer so shins are moving towards your face. Wherever you are, we're celebrating our efforts, we're breathing slowly and deeply, and we are taking one more breath in together before we gently release our feet, release our hands, and let's move into Paschimottanasana to release. Inhale high, bend your knees as much as you need, and ease your way forward with your hands resting on your shins, your ankles. If there's more space, we lengthen the legs. But again, we don't want to sacrifice our spinal position to reach for our feet. We want to keep the spine long, the heart lifted. If you can think about leading with your ribs rather than your head. So we get this idea of hinging from the hip. Flattening your feet if it's accessible. And dristi is your big toes. On your in-breath, stretch dynamically through your spine. And on your exhalation, can you feel your pelvic floor and your abdominals? So on our in-breath, get a little longer through the legs, through the spine. On the exhalation, strengthen internally. Taking one more breath, please. And when you are ready, please lift your heads and your hearts as you breathe in. On the out breath, let's ease our way all the way down onto our backs, finally, thankfully. So once you're ready, you'll bend your knees. You'll use your hamstrings to lower you down safely. And then once you've safely arrived, please hug your knees to your chest. Your knees could be together or separated, but take a moment just to gently rock. By bringing knees to chest, we bring more length into the lower back. And as we gently rock from side to side, creating a little mobility through our lumbar spine as well. And when the time is right for you, we are coming into our bridging position. So to set up for our bridge, we check that our hips and our knees are in one line. And then I'll invite you to reach with your peace fingers to try and touch your heels. We just do that to make sure that our feet are equal because it's kind of hard to see if our feet are in the same position. So just touch your feet, make sure they feel equal. And then once you're satisfied with your position, you'll relax through your head, through your shoulders, but you'll begin to energize through your feet, through your pelvic floor, and through your core. Please tuck your tailbone and lift towards the ceiling. And the moment we do this, you'll feel your hamstrings begin to work. Hamstrings love to work. Glutes tend to let them do all the work. So I want you not only to feel your hamstrings working, which are here, but really feel your glutes working. And if you need to check, you're welcome to check that they're actually firing, that they're tight. Once you're happy, ground through your hands again. And then deliberately press into your feet like you're trying to straighten your legs. So the action of trying to straighten the legs will lift the pelvis a little higher. With the foot fixed to the floor, there's nothing more that the quadriceps to do other than lift the pelvis. From here, could you lift to the tips of the toes as you breathe in? And on your exhalation, just gently, gently land. So as we lift to the tips of the toes, we're accessing a little bit more muscle through the lower leg. So in a bent knee position, it's more so your soleus muscle rather than your calf muscles. But a strong soleus is really important. And this is also strengthening our Achilles tendon as well. So as we lift at the tips of the toes, working the intrinsic muscles of the feet, the soleus, the hamstrings, the glutes. And as we lower, the glutes and the hamstrings stay engaged with our core. Let's just take two more. How high can you get to the tips of your toes? Gently land your heels, keep your hips high. One more time, we're going to stay at the top. So please really feel your strength. Work through the ankle joint. Energize your hamstrings, energize your bum, feel your pelvic floor, feel your abdominal muscles, get them all working together. Taking one more breath in as you lift a millimeter higher, and then land your heels, and please spinal roll your way down through your upper back, your middle back, your lower back. Finally, your tailbone finds the floor. And then bring your feet together, soul to soul connection. As we take rest in Supta Baddha Konasana, just a butterfly shape. Close your eyes. And if it feels good, just let your knees rock a little for a moment. And then you decide whether you keep moving or does stillness feel better to your body. Rest your hands on your inner seam, closing down the eyes. Just feeling that beautiful quality of energy you have created by moving and breathing with purpose and focus. Take 2 more breaths. I wish you could feel the breeze that I'm feeling. It's glorious. When you're ready, please bring your knees back together, grounding through your feet. You'll gather your knees back into your chest, and then we'll separate our knees as we prepare for happy baby pose. So this might be the best option for you, just to keep the feet where they are most comfortable and hold on to your knees. If it feels good to your body, we're trying to stack the ankle over the knee joint and the knee over the shoulders. So once we take that shape, we can hold hamstrings, calves, the inside of the feet or the outside of the feet. What I want you to avoid is this kind of a position where your chin is poking up and your head is dangling. So if that's you, it just means your upper back, your thoracic spine's a little bit tight and you need just something underneath your head for support. So a pillow or a block. Now this looks like a very passive stretch, but I'd love for you to press your feet gently into your hands, and at the same time your hands lovingly pull down on your feet. So when we engage the muscles as we're stretching, we not only bring support to the joints by activating the stabilizers, but we also train these muscles to support us in all ranges and planes of movement. So beneficial. We'll stay for one more breath here. And then we're attempting to take a half happy baby pose. I dare you to try and say that 10 times fast. Half happy baby pose, half happy baby pose. When you're ready, it's your right foot that's going to find the floor, and our left foot's going to stay in half happy baby. So right hand resting on right thigh, and your right knee can be bent, or it might feel better to lengthen through your right leg. Test it out, see what feels best. And then from there, we're just dynamically, once again, lengthening through the right leg. And that action of pulling and pushing through the right hand, the left hand and the left foot, becomes even more important now. So really feel how that is opening your hamstring on the left and your adductors, your inner thigh. And as we seek length through our right leg, we're opening through the left, right hip flexor. One more breath here. Could you leave your right leg where it is? It doesn't matter if it's bent or straight. But I'd like for you to catch your left hand with your right foot. Did I say that wrong? Get your left foot with your right hand, and then take your left hand just to your shin. So we're gently drawing, we're gently encouraging our left shin parallel towards our shoulders. It might not ever get there, and that's okay, but we're just working with the action of drawing that foot towards our right shoulder or parallel towards our shoulders. Now in the shape, for some of us, this will feel better with the head lifted and the core engaged. So just test that for me. So we're working a little bit through the abdominal wall to lift the head and to lift the shoulder. We're trying to keep our right foot engaged, whether the knee is bent or straight. Just take one more breath in the shape that you chose. And then you'll bend through your right knee if you're not already there. And let's just cross that left leg over. Arms wide or in a cactus position. And then I'd love for you to shift your pelvis just a little bit to your left. And please let your knees drift to the right. Eye gaze to ceiling, to sky. Shoulders are equal and even. We can use the right hand to gently deepen the twist if we feel like we need more. And to create a little more spinal rotation, please look to your left. We're taking 3 more breaths into our left lung, into our left side body. One more breath before returning your eye gaze, returning your knees. We'll center the pelvis and uncross the legs before gathering the knees back into our hearts. Deload your spine and then mobilize your spine by rocking gently. Your head is relaxed, your shoulders are relaxed, your tailbone is heavy. And as we find stillness, we return to that separated knee position or back into our happy baby pose. I invite you to rock gently the second time. So still feeling the action of the feet gently pressing into the hands and the hands gently pulling down on the feet. And then, beautiful crew, find your stillness. And it's half happy baby pose time. So your right foot will stay and your left foot is going to search for the floor. So we can keep the left knee bent with the left hand resting on the left thigh. Or you might decide to lengthen that leg a little bit or a lot. Left hand, left thigh. Right hand gently drawing right knee towards the right armpit. How long can you make your left leg? How smooth can you keep your breath? Opening through your left hip flexor, your right hamstring, and your right inner thigh. One more breath before your left hand begins to search for your right foot, and then your right hand will come underneath the shin. So we can bend through the left leg or it can remain straight, but we're encouraging our right foot across the line of the body, moving towards shin parallel-ish to our shoulders. And the invitation to lift the head by using the abdominals if that feels better to your body. So the engagement of the core brings a little bit more stability to our spine, of course. But it's also more work to lift the head and the shoulders. So if it feels better to relax, please do. Last 2 breaths. One more full deep breath in before gently releasing your head, grounding through your left foot if you're not already there. And let's cross that right leg over, arms wide or in cactus, pelvis shifting slightly to your right, and then patiently control the twist to your left. Please keep your shoulders equal, your face relaxed, your breath smooth. You can use your left hand on your right thigh to deepen the twist through the lumbar and pelvis. And you can increase cervical rotation by looking to your right. And then we settle into our stillness. We soak up the sensation. Breathing 3 more smooth, deep, beautiful breaths into our right lung. One more goodbye breath before returning your eyes. Use your core and your arms to safely come out of your twist. And once you're there, center your pelvis, uncross your legs, and then bring your feet super, super, super wide and your knees together. Take your cactus arms again. So for some of us, for me, I definitely feel a stretch through my hips as I do this TP shape. So this might be where you want to stay. And variation 2, you're exploring internal and external rotation through the ball and socket joint of the hip. So just so slowly, so mindfully, moving in and out of the shape. The next time your left knee opens outwards and your right leg moves inwards, I'd love for you to stay right there. And now that we're here, just notice that your head and your shoulders are grounded and relaxed. But you're pressing your pelvis deliberately to the left so much that you feel your right glute activate. If you're looking for a little bit more depth in your stretch, you're welcome to lift your head and shoulders. Your right hand would reach for your right ankle. And then once you find it, you need to bring that knee back to your mat. Reestablish your shoulders, pressing your right knee towards the earth, pressing your right hip towards your left. You could turn your eye gaze to your right. And let's just stay for 3 more breaths. So where I hope you feel this is through your right quadricep and your right hip flexor, and perhaps a little stretch through your left inner thigh. Last 2. One more. And when you're ready, your eyes will return. Your knees will return to the middle. Take a moment here to scoop your pelvis, to tuck your tailbone. And then opening your right knee out, left knee in. Your shoulders are equal. Your arms can return to cactus. As you press your pelvis towards the right, so much that you feel your left glute activate. If you took the deeper quadricep stretch, you'll need to lift your head and shoulders, pick up your left knee, get your ankle, and then settle back in with a deeper quadricep stretch. You're encouraging your left knee towards your mat as you press your pelvis to the right. And then finally, please turn to look to your left if your neck will allow. Last 3 breaths to really flood and open through your left hip flexor, your left quadricep, and a gentle stretch through the right inner thigh. And when you and your body decide the time is right, you'll gently release your version of that stretch. And you will bring your knees back together one last time with a tuck of the tail to release your lower back. And if there is anything else your body is needing, you'll take it. But if you are ready to move into just a few moments of stillness, please meet me in your Shavasana. Scanning the body from the crown of the head all the way to the tips of your toes. Reconnecting with your intention if you set one. And as always, blessing our own bodies with our awareness as we give thanks for this body, for this day, for this lifetime. Beautiful yogis, it is time to begin to gently and slowly reawaken our bodies. If you have time to stay longer in Shavasana, please do. But if you are ready to awaken, we begin by deepening the breath. And as we expand the breath, we naturally expand our awareness. And when your awareness reaches the tips of your fingers, the tips of your toes, I'd love for you to invite gentle, mindful movement into fingers, toes, wrists, ankles. A little movement through your pelvis, through your shoulders, through your necks. And if your body will allow, taking a full body yawn from fingertip to toe. Before gently bending the knees, sliding the arms down and around, gathering the knees to your chest, hugging ourselves lovingly, rocking our bodies ever so gently, before rolling onto the right hand side, lingering for one deep breath, before pushing the earth away, navigating your way to a seated position, any position that feels good to your body. Establishing your posture as you lift through your heart and lengthen through your spine, and bringing your hands to Anjali Mudra. Taking one last unified breath together before closing our class with a bow. Thank you so much, beautiful yogis, for your time, your effort, and your energy. I hope to see you soon. Namaste.